supplemental information for this hearing in response to the questions that were raised at the first hearing. So I'd just like to take a minute and go through that information, which I hope addresses all of the outstanding matters. We provided an updated site plan, which clarified the original plan had both the old location of the house and then the current location. We thought it would just be a little clearer to show you where the house currently sits. And there was a question about whether it could go closer to the road, but that's actually where the septic system is sited, staying as far away from the harbor as they can with the septic system. There was a question about the erosion rate and the volume of sand that would be contributed. So we did some research of using both aerial photos for a short-term rate of erosion, which came out at 0.62 feet per year. And then we also investigated the shoreline change project from CZM, which came out at 0.66 feet per year. And we put the total volume that bank would contribute. I did it per property since it was 2 applications, and you had 180 cubic yards for 88 Pocomo and 285 cubic yards for 90 Pocomo Road. And then there was a question about how much material would be moved in order to construct the fiber rolls with the stabilized lifts behind them, and I estimate that would be just under 3,000 cubic yards. That'd be about 2,900 cubic yards of material that would get moved around in order to establish the more stable angle of repose for planting, and then using that material to create the reinforced lifts, the so-called Oreo that we discussed last time behind the fiber rolls. And there was also a question about bank swallows, and we did go and look along the top of the bank where we could see and access there. We didn't see any nests. That's not obviously a full study, but we didn't see evidence there. But regardless, what I've changed the project would be to not have the quar netting extend all the way to the top. So the top 5 feet wouldn't have any of the quar netting that we use to help just stabilize the face while the plantings get established, essentially to help mostly that is for the wind and the rain erosion that can occur and wash out the plants once the plants are established, and that netting will biodegrade on its own. So that was how we addressed that. And then there was a question about where we access the beach. And so that is on our own, on number 90 on the property. And we estimated that the bank is only about at most 10, 11 feet high there. And we would put sand there with the access with each cycle as well, just to make sure that there is a veneer or even thickness of sand above that, so to minimize impact on the bank there. And that could be also part of the ongoing monitoring that could be conditioned, that we would also provide photos and reports, not only of the actual installation, but of that portion of the property, so that there is a check and balance that over time there won't be an adverse effect. And I believe that addressed all of the questions that had come up at the first hearing, and we'd be happy to address any outstanding questions and concerns.
Thank you for providing the extra information. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners?
There are, Madam Chair. Can everyone hear me? So Art, on 88 Pocomo Road, according to the GIS map of the town, there's no building there. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's a vacant lot.
So, and 90 Pocomo Road was built in 1989. And I want to read for my fellow commissioners and the public a reminder of in our regulations regarding coastal banks. And the, excuse me, Coastal banks provide habitat for wildlife, particularly nesting birds, which you've addressed. Characteristics of coastal banks, which are critical to wildlife, are bank steepness, height, stability, soil size, and compaction, and vegetative cover and diversity. Characteristics of coastal banks that are critical to wetland scenic views are bank form, slope, elevation, proportion, and scale in relationship to other landforms. Vegetative characteristics and diversity, wildlife and habitat, and a sense of presence and solitude. All coastal banks are defined as primary coastal banks for the purposes of the Town of Nantucket bylaws. In view of the foregoing, whenever a proposed project involves removing, filling, dredging, altering, or building upon a coastal bank, the Commission shall find that the bank is significant to the protection of the following interests: flood control, erosion control, storm damage prevention, wetland scenic views, and wildlife. These findings may be overcome only upon a clear showing that the coastal bank does not play a role in protecting any of the interests given above, and only upon a specific written determination to that effect by the Commission. So I put it to you, and I put it to my fellow commissioners, that rather than sort of continuing, I don't know where we've sort of allowed this to slip in with more and more buildings. But from my point of view, with respect, I feel that you could easily move 90 Pocomo back. You could actually, the owner could put the septic system, damn this thing, excuse me, could put the septic system on 88, and none of this would be necessary. And I noticed that they're requesting not one set of stairs, but two. And the drawing is sort of, is a back of the napkin drawing, which I don't think gives anything like the actual mass that it would be. And I would ask my fellow commissioners to consider denying this. And in conclusion, the orders of conditions that you give for 84 Pocomo Road, which was built in 1964, I didn't actually sign, so I was not there. Anyway, thank you, Art. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ian. Any other questions or comments, Seth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two comments, one about the stair design and one about banks walls. I'll start with the stairs. The first is I was wondering if the project representative can talk about the justification for why the two sets of stairs have a switchback. I just think that minimizing the surface area on that bank, especially if you're trying to stabilize that bank, by having a straight shot is much preferable. So I was wondering if that could be considered.
Madam Chair, would you like me to go through, respond to each set of concerns, or go through all the commissioners and then I'll respond, whichever you prefer?
We can wait until we go through all the commissioners because Ian left us two out there.
All right, in that case, the second is related to bank swallow. So I see that you quoted a report by Bob Kennedy. I'm not sure if that's a recent report, but even if it is, bank swallows have a relatively low nest site fidelity compared to other birds. They nest essentially in different places other years, or each year, whereas species like osprey have extremely high nest site fidelity and nest in the same site every single year. So the reason for this is because of the ephemeral nature of eroding coastal banks. Just because no nest holes were documented right now, it doesn't necessarily mean that in the next season, or even when this project goes to be installed, that bank swallows won't try to nest there. And it's noted that one of the places where they are found in high abundance is UMass Field Station, which geographically is quite close to this site. So I think that a few things would be warranted. The reason I'm bringing this up is in the performance standards that Ian read for us, number 3 in our performance standards specifically relates to, not having an adverse effect on wildlife habitat. And I think there's two relatively easy ways to determine if bank swallow are in that area and to make sure that we're not impacting them. The one would be to adopt a time of year restriction where no construction activities were happening in their breeding period. The breeding period for bank swallow begins in April. Eggs start in mid-April, go through July, and then the incubation and nesting period is about a month. So we're talking about April through August as a potential time of year restriction on construction activities. The other would just be to have a trained avian monitor come to your site before any construction was going to start to check the banks to make sure that swallows haven't already nested or aren't attempting to survey those areas to nest. And if so, I think that in combination with the leaving the top 5 feet of the bank free of that netting would be a good way to ameliorate any potential problems with bank swallow. I know that bank swallow don't have federal or Massachusetts endangered status, but swallows among almost every aerial insectivore have experienced high population declines due to climate change. So just a few extra preventative measures may help make sure we're not influencing their habitat or their potential habitat. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth. Any other questions, Linda?
I have to pick up on something Seth said. If 88 is vacant, why do we need another set of stairs over there? Just out of morbid curiosity here.
Different ownership. They're related ownership, but not the same ownership.
I understand there's a difference in control of ownership, but there's nothing on that lot. Are we saying that they're going to be parking on the lot and walking down to the beach, whereas they don't go to the house next door
That lot will be built on.
eventually?
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Mark?
There's an existing sand bench now in front of the property, I believe.
Yes, it will be removed as part of the project.
But is that not sufficient to maintain the bank? I mean, it's working along the bank. I was by there today, and I don't see any sign of recent erosion there. Why wouldn't that be sufficient?
Through you, Madam Chair. Just over time, with the seasonal nature of the sand that gets deposited by or captured by the drift fence, that often goes away during the winter seasons as well. So the idea is that there is still slumping of the bank and there is erosion, as we've documented through both the aerial photos and CZM. So ultimately, as long as that bank continues, the wave action and the water action continues to impact the toe, then we're not going to be able to vegetate the face of the bank and not have it slide. So the answer is that no, the fence helps to capture windblown sand in certain seasons, but of course that windblown sand is very rapidly, it's very fine, so it's very rapidly transported and moved around by water action when it's acted on. So that's the reason that we would like to protect the toe, remove the fence. Ultimately, the owners, would like to have both the fence and the rolls, but based on past decisions and discussions with the commission, including just recently, fairly recently at 84, I understand the commission's position that combining both sets of materials would then reach a finding by the commission that it would be deemed a coastal engineering structure. I'm not so sure that I would agree with that position, but I understand that's the position of the commission. So for that reason, we're removing the fence and trying to stabilize the toe so that when we do all of these plantings, then they hopefully won't slide.
Yes. follow-up?
Art, I'm not experienced in choir rolls. What is the annual maintenance, if any, of a choir roll?
So the maintenance procedure is first and foremost maintaining sand cover. So bringing, the sand that gets contributed to the littoral system that gets replenished to maintain that. And then the anchors are tightened if need be, the cables that secure them to the bank. And it doesn't happen all the time, but that's just part of, before they come and put the sand down, they'll check, and if there's anything loose, they tighten them up. And the way that's done is essentially it's not, I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's like a U-bolt with two pieces of cable that run through them, and you can unbolt the U-bolt, tension the cable, and then tighten it back down.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? I know I echo Seth's concerns about the design of the stairs, and as well about the bank swallows, because I'm confident in spring and early summer, I was seeing at least a pair attempting to nest out there this season. So that is a concern for me. For sure. And then Art, I think you were gonna try and answer some of the previous
Sure, I'd be
questions.
happy to go back through and to Commissioner Golding's points. I think that with respect to the coastal bank performance standards and regulations that you read, the way we view this is that we're enhancing the habitat and the stability and the vegetation by promoting, a healthy vegetated community that's not slumping and sliding, so that the same interests that you read, we don't see as adversely impacting. We think we're enhancing and protecting through the project. And I understand we may agree to disagree on that, but that is the way that we view the regulations and how we meet the performance standards. The two sets of stairs.
Yeah. Oh, no, I thought that you meant the design of the stairs.
Oh, sure.
I think I explained the different ownership of the two lots.
So the stairs, if we didn't have a switchback because of the height of that bank, then there still has to be a landing. By code, you can't have sort of the way stairs used to always be on Nantucket, where it was, if someone falls at the top, they keep going, right? You've got to have breaks every, I think it's maybe 13 feet. I'm not designing the stairs. We have another team that did that drawing, and I'm waiting on a more refined drawing, but I submitted, what I had to give you a sense of that it would have railings and, what they're thinking about. But that's the reason for the switchback, is to not have a straight continuous run. And so if you did other landings, then of course they're gonna, jut out and then down and out. Now, I'm not saying that the staircase absolutely cannot be designed that way. But this was the concept that they were working on for that reason, to be able to essentially break the landings and not have someone continue the whole way. Go ahead.
As far as the bank swallows are concerned, I completely agree with and will follow absolutely Commissioner Engelberg's recommendations on that. In fact, I was thinking of making a suggestion of that, very similar to that, when the issue first came up. But we obviously avoid the areas where the bank swallows are likely to be, that the site be monitored, and that the season, which he explained, that no work be done during that period of time. And bank swallows may not be a protected species, but they're pretty neat birds, and I think we want to do whatever we can to protect them.
Thank you. I actually have one more question for Art. So this side of Pocomo Point, I find high tide comes up to the bottom of the bank more frequently than the other side. And I'm wondering if there's any like quantitative data on that. And I ask because every time the tide comes up and hits those rolls, they're gonna be uncovered, and then machinery is gonna need to come around and recover them. And if that sort of interaction is happening really regularly, we can't have that sort of ongoing maintenance in a resource area. So it's not a very well phrased question, but I'm not sure if you understand.
No, I do. And I think that the reason for that is the differing beach elevations on the slightly different on the two sides of the point, because essentially the water level is the same on both sides. But when you have the other side, for whatever reason, geologic or for, whatever reason, that beach is just slightly higher. It might even be, a few tenths of a foot or, less than a foot, but that could make the difference of, how far in that the water comes in this beach. And of course you have seasonal beaches too, right? So they, one time of the year that beach is at a higher elevation than other times of the year, combined with the differing tide heights based on the, the moon cycles or any surge that you have. But, we're confident that we can maintain the sand cover, in a reasonable basis, just like the other projects.
Yeah, I guess it's not, I'm confident you guys can maintain it, but the issue is the site becoming like a constant construction site. When I think of Takama Point, and this will hit on wetland scenic views a little bit. I mean, you can see it from Jim's Hill that's now labeled. I mean, you see it from everywhere. So if this is constantly having machinery on the beach to replenish sand, or 6 months worth of construction, that's pretty aggressive on a very, I don't know, beautiful eroding bank that we have. That's kind of at the end of the harbor. So I don't know. I think that's something I'm definitely, it's weighing on me.
And if I may, Madam Chair,
Yes. Ian.
correct me if I'm wrong, Arthur and Art, but to go back for 60 years, I don't remember it ever having vegetation there. It's always been, you've always been able to see it from town or, in the harbor. And so I'm wondering why we're having this conversation in a sense. And, but I don't want to repeat myself. Thank you.
Mark?
Art, I forgot to mention that I too share some of the commissioners' concern about the beach stairs being excessively taking up a lot of real estate, I guess I might say. When a simple jog, which is very common in the beach stair world now, would suffice. It wouldn't be a straight shot, but you have a landing and then a little jog of 3 feet and then go on down some more. I would be
Understood.
much happier with that kind of a design.
We can look at all of that.
Any other commissioners' questions before I give it to the public? Linda?
I have a comment, Ashley. This is Maureen.
Okay, yep, go ahead, Maureen.
Okay, just with regard to the swallows on the opinion from Bob Kennedy, Bob has been off island for at least 5 years now, and I don't know if he's returned. And I do know he had written an opinion about the bank swallows for the Staunton Beach project, and that was if there's a reliance on that old opinion, I think we should. I think that would be too old to rely upon, and I certainly share and appreciate learning the density issues for the swallows. Thank you, Seth. So that's my comment. Thanks.
Thank you, Maureen. Art, and then I go to Linda.
Yes, thank you. And that was a point I had wanted to, that was from that report. We didn't have time to, in between these two meetings, we haven't engaged. That's why I was sure to reference and give him credit for that. But that came from the work that we had done. I believe it wasn't even actually for the SBPF. It was for another property owner on Baxter Road. I want to say it around 2016 that we had done. But again, to the point of the swallows, we'll accept, we understand and I fully agree with the two conditions to protect the species.
Thank you, Art. Linda?
I have to agree with Ian and Seth and Mark again, because the stair construction, I've done a lot of beach stairs at the HTC. I've never seen one like this. You can have a landing and then your drop, and then your landing and your drop, and they're
Understood.
straight shots. So I think this is a little excessive on both of these stairs.
We'll revisit the stair design.
All right, so at this point, I will open it up for public comments and questions. We have one working microphone, so please come up and speak clearly if you'd like to comment. Looks like we don't have any public comment. So Art and Arthur, what would you like to do with these?
We'll continue to August 12th, please, so we can provide you some revised plans for the stairs and supplemental information.
Perfect, thank you. So these will continue until August 12th.
Thank you.
Do you
Thank
need a
you very
motion to that effect, or we just continue?
We'll just continue. So there is one more continuance tonight that I missed earlier under certificates of compliance. We have Seth D. and Kim M. White at 47A Westchester Street, which is continued until August 12th. So with that, under notices of intent, we will move on to Nantucket Conservation Foundation at Rams Pasture.
Hello, everybody. My name is Naomi Valentine. I work for SWCA Environmental Consultants, and I'm here today to present on behalf of the Nantucket Conservation Foundation for Phragmites management along Hummock Pond, the western bank, which is on Ram Pasture, Nantucket Conservation Foundation property. So just a brief overview, and then I'll go into some details. The Phragmites along the western bank of Hummock Pond does extend intermittently throughout from the south all the way up to the north to north head of Hummock. There's approximately 27.5 acres of Phragmites throughout that area. And the proposed project is to manage the entirety of Phragmites, both the sparse frag that has mixed in with the native shrubs to the west and the dense monoculture of Phragmites that's been spreading for at least the last 50 years along the pond. We are submitting the project as an ecological restoration limited project because it is for the purpose of protecting the health of the ecosystem around the pond and to encourage the redevelopment of native vegetation within those zones. We're requesting a 5-year permit so that we can go through a standard 2 or 3 years of what I'll go into detail on the proposed management plan. Of course, considering adaptive management each year, but then using those last 2 years to really make sure that there's revegetation of natives and that the Phragmites is on its way out, if not eliminated. For that reason, we don't see any permanent impact to resource areas, but the resource areas that will be impacted in the destruction of invasive vegetation are predominantly the bank, the BVW to the west of the bank, and there's a small amount of Phragmites that has pushed itself past the bottom of the bank into what is technically land underwater. And those are outlined in the form. So like I said, Hummock Pond and the banks that we'll be treating on the west side extend more than 2 miles on the north or the southwest section of the island. It's a very large pond. 27.5 acres of Phragmites needs to be managed in order to eradicate it. This is the same scope that you all saw from Mass Audubon on the other side of the pond. So they're doing a similar approach over there. And that is one of the driving factors to this. The Conservation Foundation is very motivated to make sure that the entire ecosystem around the pond is being managed for invasive Phragmites so that the efforts on the east side are not impacted by the existing Phragmites on the west side of the pond. There used to be a significantly higher amount of cattail mixed in with the Phragmites. There was a survey conducted in 2006 that it almost seemed dominant in areas, but it's been more or less pushed out in the majority of the bank at this point. And so our hope is that treating the Phragmites, we can get more native cattail back in and other native vegetation. There is a dense shrub layer to the west, as I mentioned before. The precise scope of work includes a mix of mechanical and chemical management of the Phragmites. So the proposal is to use foliar and cut stem application of either clear cast or a glyphosate product, but we're preferring to use clear cast first and requesting, I'm just going to take these off because they keep getting clogged. Requesting the use of AquaPro if needed later down the line during adaptive management. We don't anticipate that it will be needed, but requesting the option just in case. And then following an herbicide application, the Phragmites will be mowed with the Marsh Master to remove both the last year's vegetation and the dead vegetation so that it's easier to treat in the following year. It also takes away some of that biomass and pushes back the Phragmites a little bit further. And so that will be the plan each year. It would be sometime between August and October or late September to conduct herbicide application, and then in the winter time when things are a little bit firmer to do the mowing with the Marsh Master. And I know you all have received information in previous hearings about how the Marsh Master works and its low impact and things like that. But I'm happy to answer any questions along those lines if you have them. We do plan to do clip and drip application as well as foliar in the areas that are maybe more sensitive, as well as a lower density of Phragmites. So that way you're not overspraying onto native shrubs and other plants when you have just a few Phragmites stalks, not a dense monoculture. And with that, I think I can take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in the list you provided, there didn't seem to be any information about the possible impact on our aquatic life. Could you clarify that for us, please?
Sure. So while there is a certain amount of the Phragmites that's gone into the land underwater, it's really just the fringes that have moved in. The application itself is going to be conducted from both sides of the stand, being careful not to overspray. And that's additionally one of the reasons that you do the cutting year after year. When you take away some of that biomass, it makes it a lot easier to be more precise. The dead vegetation is not sort of crowding the area, so to speak, and allowing more natives to grow in between treatments too. But there will be no on-water application. It will be direct to vegetation.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Like, no. Do we have any questions or comments from the public? So it looks like no. Jeff, do we have everything we need to close this one?
Yes, you do.
Naomi, would you like to close?
Yes, please.
Is there a motion to close?
Make the motion to
Motion
close.
made by Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
Give it to Seth. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Right, that carries unanimously.
All right.
Thank
Thank you
you,
all.
Naomi.
Enjoy the rest of your night.
So that moves us to Waterfront LLC at 17 Loretta Lane. And we just need a motion to accept the withdrawal.
Also move.
Second.
Okay, so by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips, Williams.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. And that moves us on to Middle Slip LLC and Stone Throw LLC at 29B and 29C Old North.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Arthur Gasparo for the applicant. This is a maintenance dredging project for the two slips that are located at the off the pier at the end of Old North Wharf. The pier that we were in front of you with recently for the replacement of the decking on, just so that you're familiar exactly where we are. And what we're proposing to do is remove approximately 1,950 cubic yards of material. And that would most likely be disposed of at the landfill for cover material. And again, we're going to the depth that had been previously permitted, not going further or to really make any change. We're within footprints that have been previously allowed and licensed. And we will also be applying for a water quality certificate with Mass DEP for the project, as well as Chapter 91.
Thank you, Art. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Seth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm hoping to receive a few additional bits of information before I feel comfortable with these dredging activities. I see in the report that was submitted, the underwater video survey was done and there was an analysis of grain size, particularly because your grain size analysis showed such a high percentage of fine material. I'm hoping that we can get a chemical and biological sample done before the dredging takes place to make sure that we're not unintentionally spreading contamination from the dredged area elsewhere into the harbor. And obviously, making sure that all dredging activities are done with, some type of siltation boom or way to minimize the transport of that sediment would be helpful as well. And then I know that this is also land containing shellfish. I'm sure we all mostly know that it's likely not productive land containing shellfish, as it's right next to one of the most commercially used wharfs in all of Nantucket. But I still think that given our bylaw requirements, that we need a shellfish survey done to just see if there are in fact any shellfish there, and if so, a plan submitted to show how they'll be that issue will be dealt with, whether it's moving them elsewhere or doing some type of remediation, mitigation measures. I doubt it will be too much of an issue, but I would just feel more comfortable if we receive that information before the dredging activities took place.
Thank you, Seth. And I think there is a siltation curtain.
Yes. And if I may, through you,
Yes.
Madam Chair, so because of the limited depth and amount of material combined with having a condition for the siltation curtain, that was why we, felt we could forego a chemical analysis and we did the grain size. And I should have, in the original presentation, you could see the materials that were presented. We brought over CR Environmental that did the full bathymetric survey, as well as took those grab samples and provided the videography so that we could, document what was there.
Thank you, Art. Yes. go ahead,
Yeah,
Seth.
thank you. And I do appreciate that. And I did read the report showing the bathymetry and the water video you're talking about. The only reason I'm asking this is because in DEP's standards for dredging, generally if the amount of fine material is more than 10%, they're asking you to do chemical and biological testing. And in some of your samples, you're well above that. Some of them were, I think, 50% from what I remember. So
Okay.
I would feel more comfortable with better analysis of that. I understand the siltation curtain will be there, but I just feel like it's within our interest and potentially the client's interest too, if they are going to attempt to reuse this material for anything. Sounds like they might just dispose of it, but if not, and they're going to try to use it for a different purpose, it will already be tested and it'll be a known source of sediment that doesn't have to get tested again. So I would like to see that, please.
Thank you, Seth. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? No, any questions or comments from the public on this one? It's like, no. Jeff, do we have everything we would need to close?
You do have all of the technical required information, yes.
Art, what would you like to do here?
Well, I guess the question is, if we, I agree that we can likely have to do the chemical and bio samples as part of our water quality certificate filing. So if we agree to do them and you put a condition in that that has to be done, and with the condition of the silt curtain, if the commission was comfortable with that, then we would close.
Okay. Is there a motion to close?
I'll make a motion to close.
Is there a second? All right.
Second?
Dave got you, Maureen, sorry.
Oh, okay.
So
Hard to
by,
do.
but it is tough on the phone. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
All right, that carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Art. And that moves us on to Sally Horchow at 27 East Tristram Avenue.
Yes, hello, Don Bracken, representing the applicant from Bracken Engineering. This property was before you in June for a request for a determination of applicability where the wetland boundaries were confirmed as a dune area flagged by LEC Environmental. This proposed project consists of some additions to the existing house in landscaping and some septic system and driveway work. Between the 25-foot and the 50-foot buffer, there'll be some regrading on the northwest side of the house. At the northeast corner of the house, just over 50 feet from the dune, will be a small porch addition. At the back of the house, there'll be a porch addition in the front of the house. Both porch additions fall between the 25 and the 50. In the front of the house will be an addition, an enclosed addition that just falls inside the 100-foot buffer. It's the side of the house facing the street. And then between the house and the roadway, there'll be a driveway reconfiguration and a few feet of driveway within the 100-foot buffer to the dune in that area. The septic system is going to be upgraded. All components except the pipe from the house to the tank will be outside the 100-foot buffer. The existing septic tank is just inside the buffer. Be a slight improvement as far as that goes. Also proposed is a walking path from the house heading to the east to the way that exists, provides access to the beach. All of that work will be outside the 50-foot buffer. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Like, no. Any questions or comments from the public? It's like, no. Jeff, do we have everything we would need to close?
Yes, you do.
Don,
I'll
would
make
you
that
like-
motion.
Yes, thank you.
So motion made by Linda. Is there a second?
Mark raises his hand.
All right, give the second to Mark. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding, LaFleur,
Aye.
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
All right, that carries unanimously. And that moves us on to Donald E. Walker at 227 Maticat Road.
Yes, again, Don Bracken from Bracken Engineering. This property has several resource areas, BVW wetland flagged by LEC, goes around the developed portion of the property. There's also an isolated vegetated wetland between the road and the driveway entrance on the property. The entire property is within the 100-year flood zone, which is elevation 9. Pretty much everything is below elevation 9. Because the flood zone is on the property, there is a coastal bank by definition as well that is on the northwest side of the house and sort of runs parallel with the house, shown as a dotted line on the plan. There are no proposed additions to the house or proposed work except to upgrade the existing septic system. The upgrade will include removing the old septic tank and installing a new innovative alternative nitrogen reduction tank. There's already a pump chamber on site that'll be reused. There'll be a new soil absorption system installed. This system will be slightly higher than the grade that is there so that we can achieve the required 5-foot groundwater separation. The new system is in the approximate area of the existing leaching trenches that are there right now. The new system will be a little further from the coastal bank and a little further from the isolated vegetated wetland. The clearing limits will be delineated with a siltation fence. The grade changes will be about 1 foot total. And the regrading should be smooth enough. There won't be any steep slopes or cause for erosion toward any of the resource areas. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Don. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? No. Any questions or comments from the public? Jeff, do we have everything we need?
You do. I just was going to make one comment that on our site inspection, and we've already told Don about it, that the owner of the property was parking a vehicle kind of on a lawn area that was also kind of straddling to where the wetland is. And we've talked to him about it, but we're going to suggest in the order, including a condition to memorialize that vehicles aren't to be parked in the wetland areas. So, but they understand that and they're
aware of it.
moving the car when he gets back on island with the keys. So.
Don, would you like to close?
Yes, please.
Is there a motion to
I'll make
close?
that motion.
Second. I'm gonna give it to Ian and second to Linda. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
All right, that carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, and that moves us on in the meeting to request for determination. We have James R. Brett at 60, 62, 64, and 66 Arkansas Avenue.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jose Pichardo, project manager with Green Seal Environmental, representing the owners of 60 to 64 Arkansas Ave on the proposal to repair the existing septic system. Overall, the project will install one tank for each one of the units, discharging to a sedimentation tank that leads to a septic tank unit for reduction of nitrogens. That unit pumps back to the sedimentation tank, and from there back to the septic tank unit and to the infiltration system, which is going to be a common shared system for all of the units. That's the overall. Within the buffer zone, it's going to be only the replacement of one of the tanks and very light grading for the 5-foot over digging. And that is about it for the project. We'd like to request negative determination today. If you have any question, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. Are there any questions about this RDA? Jeff, has staff been out to look at this one?
Yes, we have, and we feel comfortable recommending the issuance of the -3 to allow the work to go forward without a notice of intent.
Okay, is there a motion to issue the -3?
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion made by Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Maureen.
All right, I'll give Maureen the second. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
That moves us on to Kurt R. Steinkraus at 100 Cliff Road.
Again, Don Bracken from Bracken Engineering. For the applicant, the resource areas for this project are off-site. There's a isolated vegetated area across Cliff Road from the site. The 100-foot buffer from that area just kisses a proposed porch addition on the front of the house. There's another addition on the northwest corner of the house that's completely outside any buffer zone. At the rear of the house, we propose to put a screen porch on piers over an existing patio area and landscaped area. That is just within 100 feet of a bordering vegetated wetland and a certified vernal pool on the abutting property to the east. There'll be a silt fence around the proposed work. The area where the work is done is pretty level, so don't expect any erosion in this case either. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Don. Are there any questions? Jeff, has staff been out to check this one?
Yes, and we'll recommend a -3 for this one as well.
Is there a motion to issue the -3?
So moved.
Motion made by Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second made by Dave. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips, Williams.
Aye.
That carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that moves us on to C Days LLC at 27 Baxter Road.
For the applicant, Art Gasparo, we're here to confirm the resource area boundaries,
Thank you, Art.
which if you want, I'm sorry, is the coastal dune at the bottom of the bank that's not a coastal bank.
Jeff, has staff been out to check this one?
Yes, and we recommend a positive 2A confirming the coastal dune.
Um,
So moved.
So, motion made by Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll give the second to Seth. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
That carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that moves us on to Mintz. And I butcher that one every time, so I apologize, at 51 Crooked Lane.
I don't think anyone can actually
I can
know
never pronounce that.
Yeah.
how to say it.
I don't try.
I just want to make sure I have the correct one.
I've heard it
Yes.
once. I just.
Sorry, I fell behind the paper. So here come the first two RDAs first. That we were there. 51 Crooked Lane was for the installation of the pool and kind of the work associated with that. We are recommending, it was kind of early in our pool conditioning, so we're recommending that it could be issued its certificate of compliance with ongoing condition 20, which relates to the operation and maintenance of the pool.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, so by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Right, that carries unanimously. And that moves us on to Barbary at 48 West Myacomet Road.
Sure. So this certificate of compliance was for a project that involved this was a relocation of the structure away from the eroding bank. Setting out a foundation, the shed, driveway reconfiguration, and then just some kind of site work. In and around that had a amendment to the order and then a minor mod later on. But after some work with them to address an issue that didn't match the original plan, we're now able to recommend that it be issued a certificate of compliance.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
So by roll vote, Field,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur.
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Right, that carries unanimously. And that moves us on to Muller at 13 Commercial Wharf.
So this is a little older one. This also involved the kind of the lifting and relocation of the house for what's there. This is right there on Commercial. It's the building kind of right next to Mickey Rowland's old structure that's there. But we are recommending that it could be issued a certificate of compliance as it's in compliance.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Yes. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. I got ahead of myself. So this is one on David Muller's that was, I was thinking of another one I was looking at today. This is just invalidating the order of conditions. Sorry about that.
Okay. So,
You can still use it. You can.
You mean move to
Similar.
invalidate the
Yes.
existing orders?
yes.
Okay.
I was thinking of a different comment.
So moved.
okay, there's a second to that, seconded to Linda. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Lafleur,
Aye.
Phillips. Williams.
Aye.
All right, that carries unanimously. That's gonna move us on to Marcus Ribka at 5 High Brush Path, and we have 4 certificates here.
So it's a little bit of a hodgepodge. So I think if we could,
Go one by
the
one.
first one that we're gonna come to, the 2026 Ribka, is the only one that we're really discussing. So that was for the construction of a garage, driveway, and parking, and some grading with a minor mod along the way. That project was done in compliance and could be issued its certificate of compliance.
So moved.
Is there a second, all right, so by roll vote, Field,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Lafleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. On to SE 48 926.
So you can take the next
Three
three
together.
together.
All
Those
right,
are the
so we
ones they
have
didn't work on.
SE 48 926, 611, and 610.
So these were three that they did not do the projects that they had permitted, so they're just seeking to invalidate those orders of conditions.
What's happening? I couldn't hear you.
They didn't do any of the work associated with the permit, so they're just seeking to invalidate those orders and close them out with no work done.
So moved.
So motion made by Linda. Is there a
Second.
seconded by Dave. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Lafleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
All right, that carries unanimously. That moves us on to orders of conditions. These were emailed out to us earlier.
I do have hard copies if people want any as well, if that's easier for you,
Sure.
either or.
Is that a hassle for you?
I came prepared either way.
Good man.
If
Thank
you've
you,
already
sir.
printed one, I'll take the hard.
So if people want them, if not, you can just leave them at the end with Mark and I'll collect them at the end.
Even staple them. I'll take it.
Just a question for you, Madam Chairman. Do we always get them the day of?
Yes,
I'll just look for them.
yes.
Because I got them, but it was around 3 o'clock. when I
No, I usually send them late, especially for ones that we haven't heard before. I try not to influence the discussion too much.
And because I wasn't sitting on these when these came through the first time, am I okay to sit on them now?
So I think all of the ones that we're hearing tonight, Linda, you have sat onto this part.
Okay.
Because we had Crenshaw.
We did
last
Crenshaw
I
week.
got
and
that last.
in DiBiase with last time, so
I just want to make sure
DiBiaseo,
something didn't
you're
sort of, I did not sit on DiBiase.
Yeah.
no,
DiBiaseo.
yes, you recused from that one, but
And it's
Cr-
not DiBiaseo, it's still Basio.
yes. We just read it how they type it on their form.
All right,
Um,
I'm not signing that one, but I didn't notice it come through here.
Yeah, no, we haven't.
No,
gotten
we haven't
it yet.
gotten it yet.
Okay.
So we're gonna begin with Colby Crenshaw at 24 Almanac Pond Road.
Correct. So this was the project that was for the kind of restoration for some cutting that was done on 24 Almanac Pond Road. So I won't run everything through it, but it's our basic kind of suite of monitoring and photo monitoring the replanted areas with that 95% survivorship that we look for, no cultivars.
I have to recuse from 24 Almanac, just came to me today.
All right, perfect. And then the permanent marker requirement under 24. And then we put something in that all loose soil shall be stabilized by erosion blankets or bracketed by silt fence in case there's any loose soil that's left. But I don't believe that there is. But I know sometimes when you start doing work, sometimes there ends up a little bit.
Thank you, Jeff. Are there any thoughts or amendments, Mark?
Jeff, through the chair, this is the one where the gentleman clear cut quite an area down to the ground.
Yes, sir.
Jeff, you got a question or comment?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just think that in these order of conditions where they're remediating unpermitted work, we should always put in the permit overview that this order is in response to unpermitted work, so it stays attached to the deed. So could we add that in, please?
So I think the easier way to do that, instead of putting in the overview, Seth, would be in additional findings,
Okay, that's
where
fine.
we put the commission finds that the work proposed is in response to unpermitted work that occurred on the site.
Thank you, Seth. I think that's a very good idea.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, Seth. Any other thoughts on this order? If not, is there a motion to issue as amended?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Dave got you, Maureen, sorry. So by roll vote, I know, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
All right, so that carries with Commissioner Williams recused. And that moves us on
Do we have any
to
paperwork on this?
Biasio, and I know I'm
Delbazio.
DeBazio,
And I recused from them
Different.
because I was at this one
and
last time.
Commissioner Williams is recused.
So if you guys remember, this is the one that was for the removal of the shed in the buffer zone. And we didn't necessarily agree with the wetland delineation from the information provided. So we included the finding that the commission finds that no resource area boundaries as shown on the plan of record are not confirmed, so there's a typo. And any future applications would require a new resource area delineation. Well, other than that, we didn't really have any conditions. It seemed pretty straightforward.
Thank you, Jeff. Are there any questions or amendments to this order? If not, is there a motion to issue?
So moved, Madam
Is there
Chair.
a second?
Second.
So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
So that carries with Commissioner Williams recused. We did not close Lower Pocomo or Pocomo Point Realty Trust, so that moves us on to
Paperwork.
Nantucket Conservation Foundation at Ram's Pasture.
Gosh, you're good. All right, so I'm gonna 100% fess up on the Ram Pasture one. This is pretty much the same order that we've been issuing for these Phragmites removal projects for the other ponds that have gone to the Pond Coalition or the Land Bank.
Jeff, I just have kind of a clarifying question for this that I think
Yes.
I already know the answer to. They requested a 5-year permit. We can only give 3-year permits, correct? And then they need ongoing conditions or extensions.
Yes.
Okay.
I will sort that out with Karen and Naomi when the time comes.
Okay.
But yes.
So are there any amendments or questions about this order?
Yes, Madam Chair, through you to Jeff.
Yes, Ian.
Since they were talking about AquaPro or ClearCast, shall we remove the rodeo or equal? Or do you feel it really makes very little difference? I
It's-
mean, you know how I feel about rodeo in particular.
I think we could certainly change the rodeo to Clearcast or equal. I think that's fine.
Thank you.
Flip it over to the front. It says it like,
Of the back page.
yeah. Okay, so we have one amendment. Any other thoughts on this order? If not, is there a motion to issue as amended?
Just,
Oh, sorry. Ian.
yeah,
I'll make that motion. Yeah.
just a second, please. I'm just through you, Madam Chair, to Jeff.
Yes.
I'm curious why we don't have anything about, the normal precautions from, the wind, et cetera, et cetera. Do you feel that it's not necessary because they're
So
professionally inclined or?
we had those in originally for the first
Right.
Long Pond order.
Right.
And then after the results that the land bank put together for the monitoring protocol, and then some kind of continued conditioning that we did with the reports that Sarah Boyce did for Linda Loring, we stopped including those because we weren't seeing those effects from the marsh master. So
Okay.
we took them out.
But it's not only going to be the marsh master in this particular instance.
Because the conditions that I think you're talking about related to wind and drift,
Right.
and the other method of treatment that they're looking for that's not from the marsh master is solely clip and drip.
Oh, okay.
That we didn't include those again.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you,
Excellent
Jeff.
questions, though.
Yes, so Linda, you made the
I'll make
motion.
the motion.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Seconded by Dave, so by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Right, that carries unanimously. That moves us on to 27 East Tristram Avenue. 27 East Tristram Avenue, Sally Horchow.
What did we do with Middle Slope?
I didn't draft an order for that because the file number didn't come in till late, and then also
I didn't see.
I didn't know that was gonna go that fast, so.
Okay.
But I had noted for that we were looking for silt curtains and the soil testing from Seth, so we'll write that in for next time.
Okay, so East Tristram Avenue.
My dial-up modem is going slow right now. So this was the existing structure and then the path that ran outside of the 50 to get over to the traveled way. I honestly didn't really have any conditions for this. They seemed pretty straightforward.
Thank you.
It was
Jeff.
borderline an RDA project, but
Are there any questions or amendments to this one? And if not, is there a motion to issue as drafted?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Linda, is there a second?
Sure.
Give it to Dave again, he's quick. So
No,
by
right away.
roll
Nobody
vote,
else does
Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. That moves us on to Donald B. Walker at 227 Maticat Road.
So this was the IA septic project, and again, it seemed pretty straightforward. It had the waiver for where the leach facility was. And then the only condition that we had was just what I had talked about at the end, that we're having them before they start work, remove their vehicles from those areas and keep them within the designated parking areas.
Thank you, Jeff. Are there any questions or amendments to this? If not, is there a motion to issue as drafted?
So moved.
Motion made by Linda. Is there a second?
Hold on, I
Second.
do have one question,
Oh.
sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
apologize. I thought with these septic upgrades, we were requiring the submissions of the Board of Health certificate as part of our,
So we always get the Board of Health certificates for the certificates of compliance,
okay.
and we pick them up then. I will say, having moved into the same building as the Board of Health, we have talked about a lot of septic systems with Artel this week, and just for being in the same spot at the same time. So it's been super handy. Much harder to sneak something past the septic wise now.
Okay, they're in-house. All set.
All right, so that motion was made by Linda, I
Those data
believe.
go. Maureen.
Maureen got the second. So by
you.
roll
Is this
vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Thank you.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
All right, that carries unanimously. And that moves us on to extension orders of conditions. We have Nantucket Land Council at Nantucket Harbor.
Good evening, everyone. Marjay Turcott for the Nantucket Land Council.
requesting an extension on our permit for our eelgrass restoration project off of Monomoy in Nantucket Harbor. This project started in 2018, the spring of 2018. We worked through the permitting. And from the fall of 2018 to the fall of last year, we managed to transplant 25,000 adult whole shoots of eelgrass. Over half of them have survived, and they are reproducing via seed as well as vegetative propagation. So we have found a lot of success, which is I'm pretty ecstatic about, because I've been a part of some projects that did not go that well elsewhere. So we're requesting an extension, and at the next meeting, we'll be coming in with a minor mod request as well, because we are hoping to try some seeding methods instead of entire transplants, which require divers and a lot of effort to do. So there have been seeding methods that have been successful in the Chesapeake Bay area and elsewhere. So we're hoping to try some of those methods at this site, as well as a second site, but that'll be a separate NOI for another part of Nantucket Harbor. But this evening, we'll just be requesting the extension. And then on the August 12th meeting, I will request the minor mod, and we'll be bringing out Dr. Alyssa Novak, who's been leading this project since 2018 to fill you guys in, bring in some pictures of the transect sites off of Monomoy, and answer any questions you have about the project so far. Thank you.
Thank you, RJ. Are you guys looking for a 1-year extension or 3 1-year extensions?
3 1-year extensions.
3 1-year extensions. Okay, thank you.
That is our recommendation as well.
That is our recommendation as well.
Perfect. So is there a motion to issue?
Actually, Madam Chair,
3 1-year?
Second.
I have a question.
Yep, Ian?
So RJ, well, congratulations. And how do you count them?
The eelgrass shoots?
Yeah.
One at a time. Unfortunately, one at a time.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
And I've spent a lot of afternoons as volunteers picking, a lot of those that are growing out there now are actually ones we picked out of the rack line from Nantucket Harbor. So they were castaways, and we managed to replant them, and a lot of them have survived. And then Natural Resources Department, as well as a lot of volunteer divers, have helped us pull them from the donor sites off of Hussey Shoal and a couple other spots in Nantucket Harbor. But yeah, they get bundled into groups of 5 and planted on the bottom, but we have to clean them. We have to make sure that their roots are correct, and we have to do it one at a time.
Well, let me buy you a lunch or dinner at the Anglers Club. I'm very impressed. Thank you for your effort.
Thank you.
So the motions were made to issue the 3 1 years. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Right, that carries unanimously.
Thank you.
RJ.
Yeah, it's been pretty impressive.
So that moves us on to approval of minutes from the July 8th meeting. Thank you, Terry, for the minutes. Did anybody see anything?
Thank you,
that they
Terry.
need amended?
Thanks, Terry.
If not. Is there a motion to issue as drafted?
I answer to anything, Terry.
So moved.
All right, motion made by Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dave. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye, and Linda actually wasn't there for the last meeting.
Oh, I thought this was the meeting I was at before. Yes, it was.
No, she was there.
Yeah,
first.
she was
Oh,
there for that one.
I apologize,
It was
Linda.
the June meeting. I wasn't there. Seth wasn't
I
there.
wasn't there.
Aye.
So Dave says aye. Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
All right, that carries unanimously. And that moves us on to enforcement updates. Sconset Beach Preservation Fund, 87 through 105 Baxter Road. And I think Jeff's just going to give us a little
Just a,
update.
sure, just a little update for everyone. So I know everyone's been kind of following along at the select board. And one of the things that's come up, and I know I've sent it through email, is that we'll probably be seeking independent counsel for this because we're in a little bit of a differing of opinion with the select board. So I filed our formal request for legal services today. That was the instructions that we got back through the steps we need for procurement to do that. So hopefully that will get signed off as soon as possible and we can enter to the next stage of procurement to seek that counsel. I know I've gotten a few names from lots of different peoples and a few attorneys that have just kind of sent stuff in that they'd be interested to. So I'm sure we'll have to put together, excuse me, some level of scope of services. I know it seems pretty obvious what it is, but for them to put together kind of a price package. And then at some point we'll have those to you guys to review and select counsel.
Thank you, Jeff. And I guess I just want to add to that for people following to be patient with us as we move through the process, just because we take a little longer. It's not, no assumption should be made by anybody based on length of time it takes us to.
Yeah, we're
get this
just
together.
trying to follow procurement rules.
So, Madam Chair, I would like to suggest that we make a formal motion to ask Jeff to pursue the choice of counsel as expeditiously as possible.
Yes. I think he's doing that. Yeah, but, I don't know. We need a motion on that.
I think it is a good idea.
Okay.
Just it puts us on record that we're supporting Jeff's endeavors and that we'd like it to be done as expeditiously as possible.
So that motion's been made by Ian. Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Maureen. So by roll vote, Beal,
Could you repeat the motion, please?
That we support Jeff in seeking independent counsel for the Conservation Commission as expeditiously as possible.
Thank you. I vote aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Lafleur,
Nay.
Phillips,
aye.
Williams.
Aye, nay.
Okay, so that carries with Commissioner Lafleur and Williams opposed.
I do have a question to the chairman.
Yes.
Is the letter from the select board going to be on the next agenda or how?
So
are
we are
doing
going to
that?
discuss all of that once we have counsel.
Okay.
We're kind of waiting on issuing an enforcement and discussing.
That response. Okay.
Yes, yes. There's probably going to be an executive session thrown in there, but again, we're waiting on the
Yeah.
process of acquiring counsel.
Okay.
Any other questions about that? It is kind of new.
Yeah, if people do have questions, feel free to call or email as well. I'm happy to address them. I know Ashley and I talk on the phone like 10 times a day sometimes, just to go over questions that are coming into people, but I'm happy to discuss it with anyone at any point. So I'm happy to set up times.
Thank
But
you.
that was really it. I just want to keep everyone in the loop that things are happening, even though it may not seem like things are happening, but things are definitely happening. So.
Thank you for all your work with that. And Joanne too, because I'm sure you're helping out. So that moves us on to reports, crack.
Business as usual.
CPC,
We had a recent meeting of the CPC to discuss our we had the annual meeting and we presented that hopefully we get a lot of applications for this item. Those when they come in.
is there like a social media outreach for
We just got the
presentations as
flyers.
well?
We just got the flyers. We're going to be posting the flyers everywhere and Nantucket Current also and everywhere. We're sort of pulling back a little bit on the newspaper because they were so expensive, but we're going everywhere. It's been sent to all of us for our Facebook pages. But we're looking for housing, open space recreation and historical preservation. And we're getting more money because of the real estate market. And they gave us more money at the state legislature. So we're looking for people. The deadline is the second Friday of the month of September. And the application and all that information is on the actual CPC website and the town website. But spread the word. It's recreation and open space. So there's a lot
Yeah.
of
that's a lot of
flexibility. Ian
options.
was on for a long time.
Well, I was, and through you, Madam Chair, I'm curious that you say, Linda, that you consider that the paper is considered too expensive, because isn't that a course, I'm a paper reader, so rather than social media, wouldn't, and we're talking about, what, 2 million plus? So I'm sort of,
I'm gonna
I-
bring it up again.
yeah, thank you.
NP and EDC?
Yeah, we had one meeting, we got the area plan, draft area plan from Wisconsin, and everything else is kind of ordinary business. Nothing else unusual.
Okay, thank you, Maureen. And then we have other committee appointments. So Jeff, do we need that Pulvis Harbor Committee? Is that going to try and start up again?
I don't know. I know Mark was our representative on it before, and Erica scolded me that we forgot to send her, who was going to retain on it, even though I don't think you guys have met in ages. But
I don't think. they're
We
gonna-
haven't met for a year.
yeah, but they're still looking to make sure that we have a representative on it, I guess, perchance if it starts back up.
Okay.
So.
Would you like to take it again?
So much work, but I'll work at it. Thank you. Yes, I'll be happy to accept the challenge.
Okay, do we need a formal motion to that
I'll make
probably?
that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so by roll vote, Beal. He's
Can I
on
vote for
it.
myself?
Yeah.
Aye, sure.
There you go.
Engelbart,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
It would be disconcerting if you didn't. Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
All right, that carries
We
unanimously.
thank Mark for his overwhelming dedication to
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you,
service
Mark.
on that committee.
So that moves us on to commissioners' comments. Any commissioners' comments?
And the only thing I have to say is I wish the HDC meetings would go this fast.
Oh, don't, just wait till our winter meetings start. In the summer, they
Thanks.
tend to be quick. And then we get into like 4 and 5 hour meetings. So, yeah,
Stick around.
yep.
It's coming.
Any other comments? No. Administrator staff reports?
I just have one real quick one. I know the commission on those and the public knows too, but I think we figured out today that this is Joanne's last actual Concom meeting with us
That's not,
tonight. So personally, I don't know how we're gonna do it without her because she's really shoulders the lion's share of the load for all of this and scheduling and postings and getting packs ready and dealing with applicants and processing all of it. I really just have the easy lifting to look at the ones that she says, can you take a quick look at and let me know what you think? And the other 99%, Joanne does most of the work from. So thank you. And we'll try to carry on without her. Hopefully we can find someone as dedicated as Mark to help fill in for her to come in. So we're kind of looking at how we want to staff it because obviously you just can't replace Joanne with
with anyone.
one person or with anybody. So we'll have to do a little bit. I mean, it may be like between 20 and 30 people to come in to do what she does. So, but wanted to get on the public record with her here to at least say thank you. So.
Thank you, Joanne.
Thanks, Joanne. I didn't realize we were losing you this soon.
Yeah.
To the end of August, then it's.
No, I think your last day is like the 11th, somewhere in there, 11th or 12th. It's somewhere in the middle of August, but our next meeting is until the 12th. So it's right around there. So.
Well, that's a bummer. We will miss you.
We will. I feel like breaking into for she's a jolly good fellow, except I I don't know if that's okay.
That is true. All right, well, if there's no other reports, is there a motion to
I'll
adjourn?
make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second that motion.
So by roll vote, Beal,
Let the record show it's not even 6:30, but aye.
Engelbart,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Hi.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Hey, Art.
Carries unanimously and we are adjourned.
There's a motion
Aye.
committee for over here today. It's
I feel you're
really, really heated. Yes.
They used to, that's what they use me at the ACC, the planning board, particularly the planning board. I get the darts coming from Andrew Motion.
The old quick draw over here. Yeah. Let's see how she does with revolvers.
I just don't, I wish Joanne wasn't leaving.
You as well.